What is up, people? It's Coffee back with an update into a horrific true crime case, man, out there in Louisiana, cross state lines into Jackson, Mississippi. That's just so evil. So many questions. There's a human trafficking element to it all that we're still very unsure of. We got a major update here. I'll pin a video below if you're not up on everything, the preliminary info that came out in this case. But let's get to this update.
Did you kill that little girl?
I would like to hear for that. Unfortunately, on Lexapro, sober, no drugs in my system, I did.
Daniel Callahan confessing in front of our cameras on Friday to killing 3-year-old Aaron Brunette. A Jackson, Mississippi city judge denied bond on the capital murder charge for his alleged accomplice, Victoria Cox, keeping her in jail during her Mississippi court proceedings.
And they're both facing capital murder and sexual battery charges for the murder of 3-year-old Aaron Brunette and the abduction and injuring of her 6-year-old sister, who were both found in Jackson, Mississippi. Both are from Tangipahoa Parish. Callahan is also accused of killing their mother, Callie Brunette, in Tangipahoa Parish. Chris Joseph is in Jackson live.
A public defender represented Cox today at the Jackson City Court, arguing that when Cox last saw the two girls, they were alive. He also argued that she was picked up on the way to Jackson and had no idea what was happening with those little girls, saying she had no information. The public defender says that she has no prior felony history, and again, that there's no information that would connect her to any crime in this case. The municipal judge gave her a $500,000 bond on the sexual battery charge, but obviously denied it for the capital murder charge, meaning she will stay in jail in Mississippi while these charges play out. Jackson Police Chief Joseph Wade held a news conference today calling Callahan's shocking public confession on Friday something that lined up with comments that he had made to law enforcement previously. He also made a point to say that Callahan had implicated Cox in those comments. He provided no new information on any potential human trafficking, which had been a question based off some of the cages and comments about what was found near Callahan. But the chief did provide information about the way Aaron Brunette may have died.
We are waiting on the forensic pathologist, the medical examiner. I would assume, and this is clearly an assumption, that she possibly died from asphyxiation or suffocation. But we would have to wait on the medical examiner before we release that information. I did not see any gunshot wounds or anything like that, so it appeared possibly suffocation, but that's yet to be determined.
Now, Chief Wade said the sexual battery charges for both Cox and Callahan are connected to both of the little girls. Now, Callahan was on the docket today to appear in municipal court, but he obviously did not. The judge telling the courtroom that the jurisdictional issues with some of the prosecutors are still being worked out, so he was not going to appear today. And again, what happens next in his case and Cox's case is in the hands of those prosecutors who, remember, charges in Mississippi, Louisiana, and because of cross state lines, federal prosecutors involved as well. Reporting in Jackson, Mississippi, Chris Joseph, Fox 8 Local First.
So something that was just so sick and shocking and again just purely evil, this Daniel Callahan, who was dating this woman, Callie Brunette, and killed her, kidnapped the two children, killed one of them. You see, he flat out confessed. The other child, thank God, was found alive. And again, there's all these questions, human trafficking being brought into question. And again, go check out my previous video. Everyone, look out for your family members, your friends, your loved ones. Make sure you're paying attention to any new people coming in, to people that you love or care about's life. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we all got a lot going on in our lives, the daily grind, surviving and everything like that. It's what makes it tougher nowadays, harder than ever to really survive and thrive and have meaningful relationships and friendships and take care of our families. It's like harder than ever now to get by, and just all the stuff going on and the distractions in the world. But we gotta look out for each other out here, man. Never forget, I keep bringing this up. You know what I mean? It's wild times we're in. Demons are walking this earth like they never have before. Evil is in a raw, pure form, right in our face on many levels. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to sound like some old conspiracy nut, man, but it's facts. Pay attention, be safe, get right with God. But the case was just so purely shocking and disgusting. You're like, how could this sick demon do this? Kill this mother that he was dating, kidnap the children, kill one of them, and then was human trafficking involved? Was he in touch with some human trafficking organization or something like that? You know what I mean? Like that's the question that I keep asking. Comment everyone your thoughts. If like their whole relationship was just like a front of him getting near her to be able to carry out these horrific events and do what he did do it in furtherance of some kind of human trafficking group, that is still at question. Again, stay tuned to the end of the video. There's going to be a press conference with a bit more info. I want to see what y'all think about all this, man. And again, stay focused and keep your eyes peeled for evil out there in this world. But while we're asking all these questions and just taken back in such a frightening way by all this demonic evil going on, then you find out that there is a co-defendant, someone else involved, and it was a woman. Not that women can't be evil, believe you me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a whole nother conversation we're not even going to get into in this one. But it was just rather even more shocking to hear that there was a woman involved in this case and took part in this, as they both been charged in some actual battery charges and capital murder. I believe they have bail on one of the cases or whatever, but ultimately with the no bail on the other one, they're not going nowhere. They're locked up and they're not getting out. And call me cold-blooded, but when it comes to this type of evil and this type of flucked up ish, that's when the whole, in my opinion, eye for an eye type ish comes out, man, where I'm hoping these individuals get dealt with and, get put in the dirt. Comment how you feel about it. You know what I mean? And I hope they endure a lot of what they got coming to them in the process, that it's just not an easy getting put in the dirt. And I'll say that and I'll leave that there. But back to what I was saying, a woman being his co-defendant and being involved in these heinous acts shocked me even more. And I want to know what everyone thinks about that. That do you think that plays more into the human trafficking situation, that's exactly what this was? You know what I mean? That him and this other woman had this all set up, that they were going to do this horrible stuff for that reason, or what? You know what I mean? Because you hear that he confessed. He said that he was flat out sober. The only thing that he was on was Lexapro, which I believe is an antidepressant. And he did what he did, this evil piece of garbage. Now, this other woman is trying to claim she didn't even know what was going on. She just was along for the ride and had no clue. Like, I'm not buying that. I don't think anyone out there is buying that, period. And we also found out that the cause of death, that the mother was killed by, sharp force injuries. I guess that would be stabbed, I believe. Comment and let me know if that's what it sounds like to you, and that this evil demon suffocated one of those innocent baby girls, man. It's just the stuff that nightmares are made out of, man, to hear this. But with all this being said, prayers out for the souls of these innocent baby girls, even though one of them is still alive, man. We have to pray for her soul, that she's able to overcome this kind of stuff and able to just living a pure nightmare and having her family decimated by these demons, that she'll be able to, get over all of this and this trauma and live out the best life that she can on this earth in this lifetime, because as we know, trauma and pain and messed up situations that people go through change the course of who they are, their lifetime, their psyche, just everything, so it's just, we got to pray, real talk. But I'm going to get to this press conference now. One thing that you will notice, again, as we're trying to decipher if this indeed was a human trafficking situation going on, the feds are involved in this case. They're investigating. They've been charged on a state level, but we could see some Fed charges, just off the rip, because they crossed state lines, kidnapping and whatnot. The feds come into play. But I'm still thinking that there may be some human trafficking organization out there. Again, you got to go check out the first video where I tap into all this. There was information about cages in certain area that he went to that all seemed to be tied to something even larger and more sinister of what just happened. An organization that would be behind and responsible for many, many horrific acts like this happening. I don't want to say all the time, but regularly or whatever. That's just what they do. And that's what I'm saying with all this, that the feds, whoever is on this, let's hope that it's all the good guys, that there's no compromised agents or dirty, flucked up demons posing as law enforcement that may cover certain things up. You know what I mean? That's what's so wild about all this with the news and everything that we're seeing going on nowadays, y'all. Like I said, it's spiritual warfare, it's mental warfare, it's good versus evil out here. But if the right people are on the case and the right people are doing digging, not just law enforcement wise, journalistically, and, we know a lot of the media is BS, you know what I'm saying? But there's independent, a lot of the media is BS because they're conglomerates of different situations that down the road, if you follow the money and you got a flow chart, you figure out that, they're compromised in many ways. But there's a lot of independent journalists that are really just out there trying to do digging and uncover the truth and, act on uncovering the truth. And just ultimately are fighting that battle of good versus evil. So here comes that clip, that press conference. Everyone, again, check out the first video. If you didn't see it, I'll pin it below in the comments. Let me know your thoughts across the board. But hopefully I'm hoping that this sinister organization gets taken down and a lot of people can be freed and evil can be dealt with accordingly. So thanks for watching. Let's talk in the comments. Here's that press conference, y'all. Subscribe.
To give you an update on the very heinous act that happened and transpired here in the city of Jackson on last Thursday. Of course, now the FBI is taking the lead in the case because these kids were transported across state lines. We should know soon what federal charges they will be facing. But on the state level, the Jackson Police Department have charged both of these individuals with capital murder and sexual battery. Capital murder and sexual battery. They are facing additional charges, intangible hope. They are facing federal charges, and we're not ruling out additional charges on the state level here in the city of Jackson and the state of Mississippi as well. I want to commend the many law enforcement agencies that have been working with us in this particular case. And what makes this so significant, we started working this crime scene on Thursday. We did not finish processing that crime scene till Saturday afternoon. We held that crime scene for 3 days processing that crime scene. I want to thank Jackson FBI for their amazing work on this case, the U.S. Marshals, Mississippi Attorney General's office. I was on the phone with them today. Department of Public Safety, I've been on the phone with Commissioner Tyndall. Really, the overwhelming support we've had from DPS. Capitol Police, NBI is doing an amazing job. I was on the phone with them today. 2 captains from NBI, Hines County Sheriff's Department, Rankin County Sheriff's Department, Byron Police Department. It's been a huge collaborative effort, and also, of course, our Hines County District Attorney's Office. I cannot elaborate on what federal charges. That's a question that would be more applicable to the U.S. Attorney or Special Agent Eckhoff with the FBI, but we anticipate those charges very, very soon, possibly in the next couple days. I will answer as many questions as I can without jeopardizing the case, but we are pursuing the state charges. Of course, we anticipate federal charges very soon. Ross.
Chief, we heard Mr. Callahan make public statements to the media on Friday regarding this role in the death of Burnett. What statement has he made to police investigators regarding his role in the death of the young girl?
I cannot divulge his entire interview. I do not want to state what he said, but it was pretty consistent with what he said to you guys. He's not denying anything. He has implicated the young lady that we charged as well. We feel we have a very strong case as we move forward against both of them in this particular matter, but he was interviewed by the FBI. They may be able to talk to you more about that. We were present. We did observe the interview. And again, I want to thank all of the agencies that participated. I've said it from day one, their resources and relationships and their power and partnerships. And this showed collaborative, collective effort as we move forward in this investigation.
And he said, how he killed the girl and why?
We are waiting on the forensic pathologist, the medical examiner. I would assume, and this is clearly an assumption, that she possibly died from asphyxiation or suffocation. But we would have to wait on the medical examiner before we release that information. I did not see any gunshot wounds or anything like that, so it appeared possibly suffocation, but that's yet to be determined.
Chief, there were comments about cages. That's raised questions, obviously, about human trafficking. Any additional information suggesting one way or the other whether or not trafficking was a part of this case?
It's still an ongoing investigation. We normally don't take 3 days to process a scene. I observed small cages myself, these small wiring enclosures, and there were other things that led us to believe that it was possibly a location that human trafficking could happen or transpire. We contacted Hines County. We contacted Mississippi Bureau of Investigations, their human trafficking division. They came out, they processed the scene. We don't have any state charges yet in reference to that. There may be some additional charges as I speak with NBI and our federal partners as we move forward. But that crime scene was worked very thoroughly. It was worked, extensively by multiple agencies, our units, NBI, and the FBI. So if there's anything that was found, we will be able to disclose that in the future, whether there were additional human remains or anything else that would lead to human trafficking charges. My understanding is she's still recovering. I do not want to deep dive into her situation right now because the grandparents, my understanding, were en route or have arrived here in Jackson to see about her or take custody of her. But we do know, so sadly that the 4-year-old did not survive her injuries.
Chief, is the death penalty being sought in this? And also, has the talks of extradition been run out there?
We are talking about extradition and what that looks like because we have state charges in Mississippi. There are state charges pending in Louisiana. And of course, we have federal charges. So we have a lot of different dynamics working here. Of course, that's going to be up to the prosecutor, whether it's the U.S. attorney or whether it's the district attorney as to what they want to pursue. But I think if there's a case that would definitely rise to the level of the death penalty, this should be it. Because I still have imprinted in my head the sight of that 4-year-old in the woods, dead.
Chief, specifically what led to the sexual battery charges?
I don't want to talk about that specifically right now. As you do your research as to what entails sexual battery, then you will be able to kind of connect the dots. But based on our investigation, based on our collaborative investigation, and based on his statements, we felt that was the appropriate charge.
Sure. Was it related to the younger child or the older child?
Both.
And so, Chief, do we know what role Ms. Cox played in the death or the sexual battery?
Based on our information, she was implicated, and I'll leave it at that. I don't want to go into all the details of this case because, as I stated, you have a state case going on here that I've been speaking with our district attorney about, Jody Owens. We also have Tangible Hope, which their DA, their law enforcement is working as well. But we also have our federal partners, the FBI, and I do not want to jeopardize anybody's investigation by releasing too much information at this time. We will be doing a joint press conference next week with Department of Public Safety, along with our other partners who have been working on this investigation. Then we all collaboratively can talk about our role, what role we played. And again, I do want to commend DPS, FBI, NBI. This was so large. It was a large-scale event. It was something that required additional resources. And when we called, they came.
Chief,
I do not know. I received some information. Cox may be having hers either today or tomorrow on her state charges. I do not know when Callahan will be going before a federal magistrate. I don't know how soon he will be, but we're in standby mode because we know that he's going to be facing federal charges. Then the state charges will kind of descend from there.
Chief, a coroner back in Louisiana made comments to us confirming that the mother of Aaron Brunette died from being stabbed with a, quote, sharp object. What role, if any, does that play in your investigation in determining what happened to these little girls?
Well, all of it plays a part. It's like putting a large puzzle together. We want to know what he did there. And my question is, how and why did you come to Jackson, Mississippi? There were so many places you could have stopped. There were so many places you could have went to, east and west, but you came here. So we have a lot of questions that still have to be answered. Right now, I have more questions than answers for you, for the community. But what I can say is that we have brought these individuals into custody. We do not anticipate right now on the state level charging anybody else outside of those two. So the citizens of Jackson can know that they're safe from these individuals and they're not roaming around South Jackson anymore to bring harm to other children in South Jackson and the city of Jackson.
Chief, we spoke with a neighbor today who said she had seen Daniel Callahan on the street where he was ultimately arrested before, that he had spent time in the area. Have your officers been able to confirm that? Has he ever been in Jackson before this incident?
And I cannot confirm that. That road, that area that he was on, does not really require a lot of law enforcement service in that area. We have not been called to that area for a lot of calls. So apparently he was familiar with the area because that's not a street that normally a suspect would go down because it's a dead end. There's nowhere to go once you turn left on Bouger. But he knew that law enforcement was close. He knew that law enforcement was behind him. And I want to thank again the U.S. Marshals for the great work that they did. I want to thank the quick response of the Jackson police officers who found those two babies in the woods.
And Chief, you believe Aaron Brunette was killed sometime on Thursday?
Again, yes, I do. But of course, that has to be confirmed by the medical examiner. I do think that she was killed on Thursday. I do think that one of the children was still alive. I know that one was still alive and that one did not survive her injuries. Again, Ross, we have more questions than answers, but we know that we do have two individuals that will be held accountable for their actions in Louisiana, in Mississippi, and on the federal level.
And you don't have any reports, any previous run-in from JPD with Mr. Callahan?
I do not have that information firsthand. No, I do not.
So, Chief, when it comes to Victoria Cox, do we know if she was in Louisiana hanging with Daniel, Mississippi, or was she picked up here?
Based on our investigation, she was with him. She was with him. And again, I really want to put a peg right there because I do not want to jeopardize the case. I do anticipate us having a joint press conference on next Monday. I've spoken to Commissioner Tyndall about that and also our other partners. And at that time, you will be able to question each agency and their role and what charges they plan on pursuing. But again, this was a collaborative effort. It was not a one agency show. It was a collaborative and collective effort on the state level, the county, federal, and local level.
Chief, stepping away from your investigation, but just watching that press conference or those comments that Callahan made last week as a law enforcement officer, how did you interpret what he said in the grand scheme?
Well, I interpret that he's a bad actor and that the city of Jackson, Louisiana, and the whole Gulf South region is a better place because those two are behind bars. Because a threat to those two young, beautiful children is a threat to all children. That could happen to anyone's child, what they did to those children. So to hold them accountable for their actions is our number one priority. And it's very hurtful as a police chief and as a father to see that done to those beautiful children.
One more question.
I don't have a motive except that he's a bad actor. He's a bad guy. He's a bad person. She's a bad person. And I guess that's the motive. They're bad people doing bad things. All right. As the motive moves, as the case moves forward, we may have a more additional information, but it's very heinous and horrific and sickening what they did last week. Thank you.
Thank you.